Hey everyone, so let's talk about protein. In the world of nutrition, it's pretty much king, right? We're all told to pack it in for muscle, to feel full, for pretty much everything. But what if that simple story, the whole more is better thing, has a secret, way more complicated chapter? Let's dive in and try to solve this protein puzzle together.
So yeah, this is really the big question we're tackling today. Because look, protein is absolutely essential, no doubt about it. But the story might not be as simple as just trying to hit some massive number every single day. So let's play detective, follow the clues, and see where this whole thing takes us. You know, every good mystery starts with a crew that just doesn't quite fit. And ours? Well, it comes from the history books of medicine. It's a finding that seems to fly in the face of literally everything we hear about protein today. Okay, so this clue takes us all the way back to the 1940s. There was a doctor, Walter Kempner, who was treating patients with really severe heart and kidney disease. And his treatment was kind of wild. It was a diet of mostly white rice and fruit. And the crazy thing is, for so many people, it worked wonders. It was this accidental discovery that honestly wouldn't really make sense for decades. 20 grams. That's how little protein these patients were getting in an entire day. Just to put that into perspective for you, a single big chicken breast can have more than 50 grams of protein. So this was an incredibly, almost unbelievably low amount. And yet, it was leading to these remarkable health turnarounds. The huge question is, why? All right, to solve this mystery, we need to identify our main person of interest. And in this nutritional detective story, our chief suspect is a compound you've probably never even heard of. Its name is homocysteine.
So what is this stuff? Well, in really simple terms, when you eat protein, your body breaks it down into building blocks called amino acids. One of those is named methionine. As your body goes to work processing that methionine, it creates homocysteine as a kind of temporary in-between product. I want you to picture a factory assembly line. Methionine is the raw material coming in the door. It gets converted into this intermediate part, homocysteine. Now, ideally, your body's workers, we'll get to them in a minute, quickly grab that homocysteine and either recycle it or turn it into other useful things. The trouble starts when that assembly line gets backed up and homocysteine starts to just pile up. For a long time, nobody really paid much attention to our suspect here. But as we're about to see in the case file, one scientist saw the clues way early on. He built a whole case against homocysteine even when pretty much the rest of the world just wouldn't listen. So homocysteine was actually identified way back in 1932, but it was just sort of a chemical curiosity. Then, in 1969, this guy, Dr. Kilmer McCulley, he proposed this radical idea that this stuff was actually damaging our arteries. And the medical community, they basically laughed him out of the room. But he stuck with it, and by the 80s and 90s, a huge wave of research came out and proved he'd been right all along. It's a true story of scientific vindication. And this is exactly why Dr. McCulley's work was so important. I mean, look at this rap sheet. When homocysteine levels get too high, the list of associated problems is really serious. We're talking about increased risks for some of the biggest chronic diseases we face, from heart disease and stroke all the way to dementia. This isn't some minor player. It's a really serious risk factor.
Okay, so we know our suspect is dangerous, but it turns out it doesn't always act alone. Its ability to cause all this trouble often depends on the absence of a few key accomplices. Or maybe in this case, we should call them helpers that are supposed to keep it in check.
And here they are, the B vitamin team. These guys are the diligent workers on our metabolic assembly line. Think of folate and B12 as the recycling crew. Their job is to grab homocysteine and turn it back into methionine. B6 is on the detoxification team. If you don't have enough of these essential workers on the job, the whole assembly line slows right down. And our suspect, homocysteine, starts to build up.
But wait, here's the next twist in our case. What happens when all the B vitamin workers show up for their shift? They're all accounted for, but homocysteine levels are still high. Well, that means something else is gumming up the works. The helpers aren't the whole story. And this, my friends, leads us to the final act of our investigation. So far, we've looked at the byproduct, right? Homocysteine. We've looked at the workers on the line, the B vitamins. But we haven't really looked at the source. It's time to investigate the raw material itself. And here it is. This is the big reveal. If your D vitamin workers are doing their absolute best, but homocysteine is still piling up, it might just be because you are flooding the assembly line with way too much raw material. In other words, too much methionine coming from your diet.
And this is the crucial point. See, not all protein sources dump the same amount of this raw material onto the line. As a general rule, animal-based proteins, meat, poultry, dairy, are much higher in methionine. And plant-based proteins? They tend to be lower. So by shifting the source of our protein, we can actually put way less pressure on the whole system. This brings our entire investigation right back around, full circle, to that bizarre rice diet from the 1940s. It wasn't just that it was low in total protein, it was extremely low in methionine. So a really high-protein diet, especially one that's heavy on animal foods, could potentially just overwhelm this delicate metabolic pathway, causing our suspect, homocysteine, to build up. After following all these clues, after going down this whole rabbit hole, what's the one thing you should really remember? Well, it really just comes down to maybe reframing how we think about the protein on our plate. And that's the final question I want to leave you with. Maybe the whole conversation we're having shouldn't just be about how much protein we're getting. Maybe we should be asking, what kind? It's a puzzle worth thinking about, and hopefully now you have a few more of the pieces. Thanks so much for cracking the case with me in this explainer.